And there we are. Good evening once again, podcast world and those on Facebook Live. How you doing? Can you say hi?
Hi, everybody. Thank you, all you listeners.
All right. We got another special guest for you this evening.
Special.
Yeah, they all
Yes.
special, but this one's special too. We're
Mhm.
going to talk some stuff about engineering and females in engineering. That's
Ooh.
always special. Tanya's going to read your bio and then we'll get going, okay?
Great.
All right, listeners, we have Dr. Aeriel Murphy Leonard. She earned a PhD in material science and engineering from the University of Michigan, yay, in November 2018. Her thesis work focused on MG alloys, which are actively under research and development for a variety of transportation applications. During this period, she led and worked on many teams aimed at increasing the number of underrepresented minorities in engineering, including developing and implementing a leadership camp for female engineering students in Monrovia, Liberia. All right. Since earning her PhD, Aeriel has been a National Research Council in the NRC postdoctoral research fellow at the Naval Research Laboratory in Washington, D.C. Dr. Murphy Leonard's research interests are directed towards developing microstructure property performance relationships in lightweight metallic materials. Ooh, I guess we're going to hear about that one. Dr. Aeriel Murphy Leonard has accepted an offer to join the Department of Materials Science and Engineering as an assistant professor beginning in autumn 2020. A native of Alabama, she completed her undergraduate education in metallurgical and materials engineering at the University of Alabama. And just to lighten a little load, she does like to have fun. So Aeriel enjoys baking and traveling and reading. She runs a lifestyle blog titled Aeriel Views, aimed at young graduates and professional students. Woo! Welcome her.
Welcome.
Thank you.
That's a lot.
Oh my goodness.
It's Joni's fault. She sent the technical, super technical version.
Yeah, it was definitely a tongue twister at times.
But even if but it's still a lot because it's you, it's what you do.
Yeah.
So we always talk about on this before we get started. When we first get started about our guest educational background, you're the first person we've had who grew up outside of Michigan. So,
Okay.
yeah. So you public school, high school?
I did public school. My mom is a public guidance counselor, and so all of my schooling has been in the public education system.
Okay,
Wonderful.
Great. And when we talked last week, I noticed that you have one of those educational backgrounds that's weird. University of Alabama for undergrad, University of Michigan for your doctoral work, and then you go into work at Ohio State.
I know.
What a triangle.
Right.
What a love triangle.
Right.
I love triangle
Right.
is exactly right.
Yeah, that's like oil and water.
I mean, as long as they're not playing Alabama, I will root, for them. But if they play Alabama, then I must say Roll Tide.
and we wouldn't expect anything less from you.
Yes.
Not at all. So let's jump into I don't know where I want to start. Well, let's talk about the leadership camp that you did over in Liberia. Tell us about that.
So of all the things I did in graduate school, that actually was my proudest moment for sure. So this camp came about through a grant that the University of Michigan had called LSAD. So it's basically to to develop Liberia in different ways. But one of them was targeted at creating community for female engineering students in Liberia. At the time, they hadn't really done a lot with female engineering students. At that time, the female engineering population made up less than 10% of the university's College of Engineering. So very few women. And after a study that we did, we learned that a lot of it was just they did not feel integrated into the community. And so they lacked that community that they needed. So like we have here in the United States, we have the Society of Women Engineers. We have the National Society of Black Engineers.
Right.
We have so many different affinity groups, and they just didn't have that. So we decided that not only would we create a Liberian Society of Women Engineering, but then we would also have a camp. And so this leadership camp is 2 weeks, it's residential, and it encompasses students not only from the University of Liberia, but from the other private institutions in Liberia.
Okay.
Wonderful.
So it is just an amazing thing. So we take about 10 people from the University of Michigan, 5 undergrads and 5 graduate students. It's been going since 2013.
Okay.
And the undergrads live with the Liberian students. Usually there's around 60 to 70 Liberian female students that attend the camp. They live together for this kind of cross-cultural experience. And the graduate students are the ones that really develop the curriculum. And that's what my role is, like being a lead and really developing the curriculum. And we enjoy it. It's just, I 100% feel that any Black person that can and is able should travel to Africa. It's just a very, different experience.
Right.
I think as a Black person being in a place that is majority people that look like you, which is very different. And the students do very well. So even after the camp, we've had students that are now studying in the United States for their masters and PhDs. We have students that have landed jobs in China and in Liberia as engineers. We have students that have transferred to universities in China to get dual degrees in engineering. So it has just been a very successful camp, and it's still ongoing. And I just, it's something that it really makes a difference, and helps them build a network that they wouldn't have without it.
Okay. So you answered a question I had. So the camp is ongoing. It's still going on. Do you still travel over there to participate in it? Or?
I don't travel anymore, but I do help with funding.
Okay.
So I do help identify funding sources and get proposals going because it's very expensive. So it costs about $70K to run this camp. And so we have been very blessed in getting funding from the National Science Foundation. From the University of Michigan themselves, been really big supporters of the camp. Plethora of industry companies have donated to this cause. I think Chevron, so many different ones. And so it's been a very good experience. And the students love it. We love it. We also bring students over to the annual Society of Women Engineering Conference that happens in the US. And so again, it helps them build their network. They usually present in the lightning talk. So it's just been, it's a very good thing.
All right.
Aeriel, you are doing it.
Right.
I'm trying.
That is very fruitful. I'm telling you, you're helping them and these companies. They trying to keep this
right. It's all about diversity. Everyone always asks about, how do I increase diversity? And it's like, you really have to, when it comes to Black and brown students and Black and brown people, you really have to put your boots on the ground. Like you really have to go into the communities, build a relationship, build trust, and really start there before you can increase diversity within your company, because that's really where it starts. It's very different for Black and brown people than it is for like increasing diversity for women in engineering. Very different challenges, right?
Right. That's good, because it's funny because the two guests we had before you, one is he's a software developer for Ford.
Okay.
And he talked about diversity there. And then the young lady last week, she worked in diversity and inclusion at universities.
Okay.
Right. So she was in Texas doing it. She's in Florida now. She's actually going to work for the city in that same role. So we talked about that as well. So that's good. So let me ask you about you. What made you go into engineering?
So I was a real nerd. When I went to a smaller high school called Wetumpka High School. It's in Wetumpka, Alabama. So it's about 10 minutes outside of the Montgomery, which is the capital of the state.
Right.
And I met a teacher, and she said to me one day, she's like, "You're really good at science and math. You should do science fair." And I was like, "You mean volcanoes? What And she was like, "Actually, no, you can do college level research as a high school student." And I was like, "What is college level research? What is all of this?" And basically from there, I worked on a project with the University of Alabama.
Okay.
It's actually the same, similar stuff that I do today.
Wow.
So I've really been doing the same thing for a long time. And yeah, that was my first experience being in a lab, was my first experience working with graduate students, because I worked with PhD students who were in this particular professor's group. And from there, like, I was super competitive and I won. So I used to go to the International Science and Engineering Fair competition that happens. Just was involved in all of that, robotics, science Olympiad, so many different things as a high school. So very, very different high school path than most people, most of my peers. But I was a nerd, and that's basically my project in high school was in material science. And I liked it, particularly in Alabama. It's still metallurgy. A lot of the material science programs used to be metallurgical engineering, just a fancy word for studying metals. And I was like, I really like this. And so when I went to undergrad, that's what I majored in. And so, yeah, that's pretty much how I got involved in it.
All right. Yeah, you know, and it's important for folks to hear that, because we get young folks on here listening, and parents, of course. And so it's good for them to know that listen to your teachers, and maybe they'll tell you something that you might wind up liking that you didn't know that you liked.
That's right. And also, just like, I think as a community, as Black people, as a community, sometimes we invest in sports. We invest in football. We invest in basketball. And that's great. I mean, because that is a path for a lot of people. And I'm not saying anything bad about that. But that same investment can be given into science and math. Right. You know, taking your child to robotics camps in the summer, you know, on the weekends, depending on, you know, what your limitations are. Right. You have to make that type of investment as well, because it is an investment. You know, it was expensive. My mom had to pay for. I lived in Wetumpka. The University of Alabama is in Tuscaloosa. That's 2 hours away. You know, she had to invest a lot of her time and money into these competitions and traveling. Right. So, you know, as a community, I really want us, you know, as we move forward, to really invest in, you know, the science and math part of the child's education. You know, like I said, sports are great, but we need to invest as a community.
Right. Were you in a DAPSET program?
I did. So I was a lead in DAPSET. So we had a program at Michigan called Explore Engineering. And so most of the DAPSET programs at Michigan were actually at the University of Michigan, but ours was actually at the Ford Resource Center in Mexican Town in Detroit. And so again, we had students from all over coming to the Ford Center every Saturday for our camp. Yeah, so I did DAPSET for 3 years.
Okay, wonderful.
Yeah, because my cousin that was on a couple of weeks ago, he still volunteers for DAPSET.
I love DAPSET. It's a very good program.
Yes, both our children were in it years ago.
They love math. Yeah, they love math.
A couple years ago.
And for the people who don't know, DAPSET stands for the Detroit Area Pre-College Engineering Program.
Right.
Yes.
There you go. All right.
Yeah, we left that out, didn't we?
That's all right. That's why she on
I know.
So they can look it up.
Yeah. But yes, that was very instrumental with our children too. Yes.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, so that's how you got involved, which is beautiful, and it's also the fact that you stayed involved is great, because a lot of kids do it for a summer and then I want to go play basketball.
Right. No.
Nah. Keep working. So now you did. Well, let's jump ahead a little bit. You did your postdoctoral work. Is that what I see? At the Naval Research Laboratory in Washington, D.C. How was that?
So it was a really good experience. So I came here because after graduate school, I really wanted to shift my research focus from doing magnesium alloys to something called additive manufacturing. Okay. So additive manufacturing is a fancy word for 3D printing. People see all the 3D printed things, it's really additive manufacturing. Okay. And so I really wanted to learn more and gain more of a skill set in that particular area. And that's something, of course, the Navy is very interested in, because they have people deployed, you know, they can't get parts to them very quickly. So being able to print them in the field is very advantageous for the military. And so I came here for that. And I've actually been able to combine the skill set that I gained from a graduate student, which is really in using high energy x-rays. So the same way you x-ray your hand to see, you look at your bones to see if there's a crack in them, you can x-ray materials and determine if there's a crack in them as well.
All right.
Wow.
So as you're pulling or pushing on it, you can just see when the crack form, when it initiates, and then how does it grow,
Okay.
as a function of load or a function of time or whatever the case may be. And so I was able to really combine that with the additive manufacturing, and I've been very successful at that.
Mm. All right.
I'm in awe.
Okay, so I'm assuming you're still in DC right now?
I am still in DC right now.
Oh, okay.
So I moved to Columbus in next month because we're
Next
in
month.
November next
Right.
month.
Oh, okay. Good, good. Yeah, stay away from Columbus as long as you can. But Columbus seems to be doing some things, because a friend of mine, he left here. He went to Michigan State. He left here to go. His job moved him to Columbus a couple of years ago.
Okay. No, it seems like a very nice city. I actually, being a Southerner, actually I do prefer a slower pace. So I think it'll be perfect for me.
Yeah,
Oh, yes.
Yeah, without a doubt. So then, let me see where we at. You know what? I want to leave this hoity-toity stuff for a minute.
Okay, fine.
Yeah, I want to talk about, because with all this engineering stuff, and you tell us all these wonderful words that we hear just mean this, and it's something simple. When do you find time? It says you bake, you travel, you read, and you got a lifestyle blog. Let's talk about the blog.
So I started Aeriel Views after I graduated from Michigan, and it was really a blog that was aimed at young graduate and professional students. So, from anything to career advice to self-care, so learning how to take care of yourself during the process, to traveling, to how to present at conferences. I try to cover, I even have a spotlight for Black women that are doing different things in different various fields. And it was just something that I think I learned so much in the process. I learned so much about myself and just how it worked. And so many people just have no idea how graduate school works. Or even the steps to become a graduate student, to even apply and be admitted.
Right.
And I think for current students, they want to learn, like, how do you balance everything? When you're going through things like the imposter syndrome or depression or anxiety, like, how do you come out on the other side? And so, of course, as a PhD student, I went through so many different things and learned so many different things. And I felt it was only right and fair that I share those with the community.
Yes.
Right. That's beautiful. And it's funny, you tell folks, I want you to explain it, what the imposter syndrome is for those who may not know.
So the imposter syndrome is the belief that you are not in your position because of your own merits. So you're there because of some things. Maybe you're Black, or maybe you're a woman, or maybe you're Hispanic. And so it's that you feel that you are an imposter. Like, you're only here. You're not here because you're smart. You're not here because you're intelligent. You're only here because you're meant to fill some quota. So you feel like an imposter. And it's very rampant in graduate school and professional students. No matter how smart you are. I remember sitting in orientation being like, oh, that will never happen to me. And then first year I was like, I have the imposter syndrome for sure. And you learn that so many people go through it. The smartest people that you think are just doing really well, they're suffering from the imposter syndrome.
Right.
And so again, that's something that can lead to depression. It can lead to anxiety. Like more than 50% of graduate students do suffer from depression.
Right.
And so how do you deal with those feelings? How do you get through it? It's really important. And of course there's many ways, but I like to share my own personal experiences with the hope that it helps someone.
The best sharing is personal experience, because it's real.
Yep, it's real. People can relate, you know what I'm saying?
Right. You didn't read it in a book. You lived it.
That's right.
Yeah. And so it's good to share, especially being a woman of color, that you can share that with other young ladies as they come up and try to work their way or maneuver their way through education and not just education, but employment as well. So that's good. So how's the blog going? Did she go? Uh-oh. Did we lose her? Oh, she right. You disappeared.
Sorry, this
The camera went out. Yeah. So are you still doing the blog now, right?
I am. I still do the blog now. It is, I think I just posted maybe a few weeks ago. I even posted about, so I'm married. My husband is in the military and he
Okay.
lives in San
Okay.
Diego. So we're in a long distance marriage.
Yeah.
And I post about that all the time so that people, a
Yes.
lot of graduate students, professional students, even people who aren't students anymore are in long distance relationships. And so that's a big part of the blog too, is
Yes.
just talking about how do you be in these dual career families, how do you manage these long distance relationships? So
right.
so that's a big part of it, and I like to share those stories as well.
Right. Well, you sound like a treasure trove of information on a lot of stuff. I mean, it's wow. And so okay, that's good. So that's going pretty good for you. So then let's talk about this baking thing, because you don't look like you.
What you mean she
eat.
don't
No,
look like?
this like she like, because you know when you bake you eat
Okay.
what you bake.
That's where
Is that not right?
Listen to talking.
I give mine away.
Oh, you give yours away. Oh, okay.
That's the good thing about a lab environment. You can just bake it, take it to lab, somebody will eat it.
Yeah.
What's your favorite dish to bake?
Oh, that's a good question. So I would say my favorite thing to bake. It may be pies. I'm a big pie and tarts and pies. So I make a pretty good pear tart.
Pear tart.
I've never had that.
I make a pretty good pear tart. That might be one, like my tarts, chocolate tarts. I've made some pretty good chocolate tarts. Yeah, I would say that's my favorite thing to bake. So the more complicated the recipe, the more I like it. So I tend to stick to a lot of like French recipes because they are extra complicated. So like I'm like, I'll make some French dessert that's very complicated to make.
So they love you.
Right,
They love you at the lab, then.
They do in all my labs.
Because I'm looking at you like.
Right. And so what kind of stuff does an engineer read in her spare time?
So I read non-technical books. So right now I'm reading Ta-Nehisi's Coats Between the World and Me. I read, I think I read a lot of like young women fiction. That's a big part of what I read. I guess I'm reading Ta-Nehisi Coates right now. I think the last book I read before this was Mrs. Everything, and Patsy, which is also a very good book. So yeah, I like to read a lot. Most of the time it's about Black women.
It's a good thing to read about.
It sure is. I'm going to pick it up too. Goodness gracious, because I love to read.
So I love to read. I try to read one book a month. And I've actually been sticking with that since graduate school.
Okay. And so you read the actual books. You don't have e-versions of them?
Nope. I buy the actual book. And I am like a proponent of not buying books from Amazon. So I always buy from local bookstores.
Okay.
Because local bookstores do so much for the community, especially in communities where books are not accessible.
Right.
So yeah, I have my favorite bookshop in Michigan. I have a favorite bookshop here in DC, and I'm pretty sure I have my favorite one in Columbus when I go.
Oh my goodness.
And there's the segue. Moving to Columbus. So what's going on? What will we be doing in Columbus?
Oh, I'm so excited to be moving to Columbus. So I'll be an assistant professor in the Material Science and Engineering Department at Ohio State. And so, so Ohio State is a research institution. So there's different types of institutions. There's teaching schools. There's half and half teaching, half research, but Ohio State is research. So besides teaching, research is your focus. So just like I will have PhD students and master's students and undergrads under me that will work for me on particular projects. My background is really in situ characterization during deformation. So like I told you, as I'm pushing or pulling on something, I'm looking to see what's happening during that process. And so I'm actually teaching next semester. So I'm teaching the mechanical behavior materials class. Okay. And that's my background. So I'm nervous. I'm really nervous about it. So talk about imposter syndrome. I was like, I got to make a syllabus. I was like, I got to make a syllabus. I'm the person. Come on. So I'm very nervous about it. I just don't want to do any harm to any of the students and teach them the wrong thing.
Mhm,
So
mhm.
I
I'm
doubt that.
excited. I know. I'm like,
What?
this is going to be interesting. Bear with me now.
I know. I
So
know.
I'm really excited about starting. When I went to graduate school, I was like, I'm not gonna be a professor. They too much work. Like I'm definitely going to industry, make a lot of money.
Right.
And then like I started this Liberia project and I was like, you know what? I think I might want to be a professor.
Yeah.
So like went to my PhD advisor and he was like, really? He was like, well, we gotta step our game up now. So I'm it's like the dream job. Like I'm super excited. I'm excited to be a part of the faculty there.
Okay, good. And it's just funny because it's like the couple guests we had on here, they were nervous before we had the interview. They talked about how nervous they were. And we told them, well, especially the ones who we really know, we just talking.
Right.
Nobody else but us. The other folks, you can't see them. So we just talking. And so a lot of times my point is that nervous energy we feel is just us acclimating ourselves to the next thing.
Agreed.
Because if you go in there without nerves, and I'm sure you know this, if you go in there without nerves, you're more likely to make a mistake.
Right. Too cocky.
Too cocky.
I gotta make sure every line of this presentation is
Right. So that's good.
Yes, we must stay humble.
Yeah, that's right. No, it's
that
real.
humility, yeah, that'll calm us down in a minute. Yeah.
Right. So as an assistant professor, how many classes you gonna have? One class this coming semester, or multiple classes, or what?
So normally in your first year, you teach one semester and have one semester off.
Okay.
But then after that, normally you teach every semester. It just depends on. So Ohio State's a big school, so most of the time professors do teach every semester. They have so many students. So in general, material science is very small.
Okay.
That's not the case there. It's smallish compared relative to the other engineering programs, but if you compare it to other material science programs, it's larger. So I'll teach this upcoming winter term, but then I won't teach in the fall of 2021. So, which works.
Yeah, probably they want to give you time to come down from that so you don't get scared and run away.
Like I'll never teach it again.
Right.
No. And then if your students do well, then hey, here you
bring
go.
it.
You can get that you can get that next syllabus ready.
That's
okay. So you looking forward to this move?
I am.
Yeah, that's good.
And making that fun. I was like, how? I've been thinking like, how's she gonna make that fun?
Right. How do you make that fun?
Teaching?
Well, the subject.
The subject matter, yeah.
Oh, it's really so, there's a lot of alternative ways to teach. I'm not the lecture present PowerPoint person. Like I really believe in active learning.
Yeah.
So giving real world examples, having students, communicate with each other, to work through problems, to learn how to work through problems, and people have very different expertise levels.
Right.
So I think the good thing about material science and a mechanical behavior class is that you can give like real world examples. And so I think a lot of that makes it fun. When you just go in a class, I don't care what the subject is, and someone stands at a podium and just reads off of a PowerPoint. It's just like, come on. I don't care what the subject is.
No.
That's boring.
It is.
I'm like you.
Some of my best professors were the ones that were walking around the classroom, being really into the active and engaged learning. And I 100% believe that's the way to go.
Right. It is. Yeah, anybody can stand up and read off of PowerPoint. The students can do it.
I know. It's like, why even come? Just send me the lecture.
Right, because you're not doing anything for me.
Right, that I couldn't do. Yeah. So I just am a proponent of, definitely a proponent of active learning.
Okay, good.
Yeah, that's why they try to create better ways with this virtual learning.
That's right. Yeah.
Right. So
you can't keep a person's attention when you just sit there just talking. So now the teachers are incorporating busy things to keep us focused.
Right. So what do you, with this COVID thing acting like it's not slowing down anytime soon, what have they told you about how they're doing learning? Is it mostly virtual? Is it half and half or what?
So it's virtual, so you can teach it synchronous or asynchronous. So one means that you have a set class time and you lecture during that time, and one means you pre-record the lecture. So I'm probably going to do a mix. So I like to be at the board. So I'm actually going to go in an empty classroom. I'm not a PowerPoint person. I'm going to go to an empty classroom and just teach from on the whiteboard.
Mhm.
And then my class is 2 days a week. And so then the second day, the students will work on problems. I'll have like breakout rooms, and the students, you can do breakout rooms on Zoom.
Okay.
And the students they'll be grouped and they'll have to solve a problem. And we'll do the best. We'll try to create I'm going to try to create some type of community, even though it's virtual.
Right. And so is it the subject matter allows for a back and forth discussion though, right?
It does. And that's what's good about it. It definitely allows for back and forth discussion.
Right.
And like I said, mechanical properties or mechanical behavior, it's like the same reason why you can sit on that chair and then someone 500 pounds can sit on the same chair
Mhm.
and it not break, so it's like there's why is it happening is the question, right?
Yeah.
Right,
See, when you put it that way, now I'm really understanding.
Right. It's like all of the, it's like if you take a ball and you throw it at glass, it breaks. If you throw it at a door, it dents. It doesn't break, right? So like,
yeah, right.
again, like why is that happening? And those are the questions that they'll answer. And so it's like you teach them a concept and then you give them a real example and say, based off of the concept that I taught you, why is this happening?
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, again, it's a graduate level course, so they're smart, so it'll be fine.
Right. But like you just said, you made, by you explaining it that way, you make it like, okay,
yeah,
I can do that.
Yeah,
But
you
it's
gave
true,
me
like-
the basics. Yeah, and I understand now.
Yeah.
Because you never even think about it,
Right. Like how
You
can
never
the chair
think
hold
about
so
it.
much weight?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why we try to buy the quality wood and metals
That's
instead of the aluminum base.
falling apart.
Right. So that's good. So now I'm gonna segue off for a second, then we're gonna get back into your stuff. You notice the title is Things My Mother Never Told Me. And I think I told you that we were going to ask you this. So okay. So is there something that you've discovered, and you've done a lot of stuff that your mother didn't necessarily prepare you for?
That was a tough question. So if you know my, you don't know my mama, but if you know my mama, she's taught some very good lessons. And that was hard for me. I had to really sit and think about what is something that she did not prepare me for. So I would say that one thing I felt that I didn't have that I have now is emotional intelligence. And what I mean by that is growing up, I was surrounded by very strong Black women.
Mm-hmm.
And they did everything like super women, they're at church and they're with their job and home and they're just doing everything. And I remember, just feeling like, okay, you could just do anything, but I never thought about how does it look on the other side? Like, how are their emotions being handled?
Mm-hmm.
Are they taking care of themselves mentally and emotionally and physically? And that's the side I didn't see. So, even as a teenager, when I would call my mom, if I was having a problem, she would just be like, you need to, there's no time for your emotions. Like, what is the solution?
Mm-hmm.
So as I was in graduate school and I was going through things like the imposter syndrome, and I was away from home and, it's cold and gray in Michigan. I'm coming from Alabama. There's a lot of things, there's a lot of, growing, and I'm also growing up. I mean, I'm 22, so I was growing up at the same time, and also doing something that was very difficult. And I didn't really know I was like just suppressing my emotions all the time, like all of my feelings, like I just got to keep forward.
Mm-hmm.
And then you look up and you're just stressed. Like you're just stressed beyond belief. Like you're stressed out. You're just not performing at your best.
No.
Right.
And, I remember just going like, man, I've got to take care of myself. Like I've got to take a step back and figure out what I need to do to take care of myself, because that's the only way I'm going to be the best in this. And so I feel like because you have, and I think that's the case for a lot of just Black women, like you have like your mom, your grandma, like they're just these strong women, but you never see them hurt. Like you never see them cry. So you think that if you feel like that, if you feel weak, if you're struggling, you feel like you are weak. Like, oh, you're not as strong as they are because they were able to do all of these things.
And I mean, a lot, yeah.
And they do a lot. So I think, in grad school, I learned the importance of going to therapy.
Okay.
I learned the importance of saying, you know what, I don't have to do that experiment today. I need a day to just rest my mind.
Yes.
I'm gonna go get my nails done. You know, I'm gonna go sit in the park and read a book. I'm gonna travel.
Wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm gonna take care of myself, you know,
Right.
mentally and emotionally. And so I really learned how to listen to myself when enough was enough. But I just feel like I wasn't prepared for that because I just had all these examples of very strong women that I never saw weak, you know.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you know, it's funny because the young lady that was on last week, that's exactly what she said.
Yes.
But you're lucky or blessed in the way you discovered it, because she discovered it when her mother died. She wasn't sick. She just got sick and then she died. She said her mother used to do everything for everybody and raising kids, you know, single parent home, raising kids and doing all this stuff and being superwoman. And then she just got sick, and she said she wonders if she had stopped to take care of herself, would she still be here? And so, yeah, so that was her wake up call. So it's and the beauty of it, you know, the beauty of this question is that we've had, this is shows, I don't know, 17, 18. And so we did 2, it was just a cast. So we've had 15 different people on here. And I think everything topic has been brought up, at least 3 people have said that. Yeah, because somebody else said the same thing in a different way. They said that her mother instilled in her that she could do anything. So she never thought that there was something that she couldn't do. And then when she was faced with that, you know, how do you like,
I'm not the best at this.
Okay.
Right. So I mean, it's good that you said that, because people need to know that. And
they do.
And Black women, especially, because, you know, Black women, because of the way history has treated us.
Yes.
Y'all have become what Black men have always been. No place to go and release.
No place.
You got to be strong. You got to be strong all the time. And, you know, in our community, like you said, you go see a therapist. Our community, we don't believe in that.
We don't believe it. No, we don't. And I think that's a barrier I remember in graduate school, that would be a barrier for a lot of people, because, you know, they would, you know, say, well, I'm just going to pray about it. And yes, pray about it. But God also made psychologists and psychiatrists and all these things for you, all of your resources.
Right.
You should utilize that. The same way you would go to a doctor if you broke your ankle. You wouldn't say, I'm just going to pray about my ankle. You would go to the doctor, right?
Yes, you would.
Fix your ankle.
Yes, you would. I'm like you, pain
pray about your ankle.
Yeah.
As you head to the emergency room.
That's right.
Same thing about your head, like your mental. This is like anything else. You have to take care of it, because as you were saying, Black women are dying from things like strokes, heart attacks, and they're not even sick.
Right.
And it's like, you have to take care of yourself, and also learning to say no. That was something else my mom never taught me, how to say no to people.
Yes. Yes.
And I learned that quickly. No, I can't do that. If I'm not passionate about it, if it, you know, doesn't suit me, I say no.
Yeah, right. It's funny, 2 things you just said. The one about they say pray about it, but God created these folks and gave them the ability to heal us. That's a sermon we done heard a couple times in church.
Right.
We've heard that, you know, God created these doctors and gave them the skill and the ability to work on you and heal you. So take advantage of that. And the other thing is, last week or the week before last, Chris Rock was on The Daily Show, and he was talking about how he had figured out that he needed to get help so that he wouldn't burn out. And so
that's right.
And they said, well, you've seen 3 or 4 psychologists. Well, he said, yeah. He said, well, if I was sick, if I had a broken bone, I'd go to the doctor. So why not? Just what you said. So so that's a message that needs to be out there. I'm hearing it. I'm hearing it too much.
And also I think as a community, we, you know, as the older generations can be hard to persuade, but, you know, as the new generations come along, I think it's important. I like that I'm seeing now a lot of initiatives to increase, you know, mental health awareness in the Black community.
Right.
Because like you said, there's a lot of trauma, you know, there's a lot of trauma for Black people. You know, I think about some of the things that people have said to me, have done to me just because I'm Black on top of life. It's a tough life to live at times.
Especially in the field that you're in. They don't
preach to that.
Yeah, they don't want us. They don't want us, and then especially not a Black woman. Ooh, no. But why you say the older community? Because we up there a little bit in age. Yeah, we up there a little bit in age. So you talking about my generation, the generation that believes if you go to the doctor, that's when you get sick when you go to the doctor.
Yeah, I've yet to go to a psychiatrist, but I know I've needed to talk to one a few times.
Sure.
That's right. Yeah.
Mhm.
I tell you all the time, anybody can look in their life and say there was a time
Oh yeah.
Oh,
when
yeah,
they need to talk to somebody.
Mhm.
If we being honest.
If we're being honest.
If we're being honest.
Yeah.
Right.
Because
So
sometimes our ministers or pastors aren't enough. You know what I'm saying? They
That's
aren't enough.
right.
well, they'll tell you. If
Mhm.
they're honest, they'll tell you. You can go to see somebody who went to school for this.
Yes.
I didn't go to school for
I
that.
didn't go to school for that. Yes.
Yeah, I went to school
I
for,
can give you
for what
the
I do every Sunday and during
Right. That's beyond. That's beyond me.
the right. You
Mhm.
need some specialized help. So
So
now,
take your medicine and go see him.
right. Okay, so now the other thing I wanted to talk about that said that you had led and worked on many teams aimed at increasing the number of underrepresented minorities in engineering. And before the so had you had opportunity to work on those type of things here in the States?
Oh yeah. So I've done a lot of work in the States. So Michigan has the Summer Engineering Academy, and I was in a program called SKEEP, and I was the engineering instructor there for 3 years in the summer. Just so many things to name at Michigan. I also go back to rural high schools in Alabama and hold robotics, 2-day robotics workshops for young women that are in rural communities in Alabama. So many different things.
Right. And I like hearing that. It's good to see when people get where they're trying to go, or at least getting closer to where you're trying to be, but still haven't forgot about those who trying to get there
bear
too.
fruit. Yes.
Yeah.
Paying it forward. Yeah.
Because
and it's important. Like representation really matters. It matters a lot in underserved communities. Just because they don't get an opportunity to see people who look like them that do these things, and it's the representation is showing that you can achieve it, but then here I am. If you need me, if you need my help, I'm here.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I make that very clear to any student that I've ever worked with. If you need me, here's my email address. You email me. Here's my phone number. You call me, text me. If you need anything along the way.
All right.
Yes.
You can reach out to me. Open communication for me, because I just feel that I'm only here because the people before me, reached back and helped me. Right. I was very blessed at Alabama. My department chair was a Black woman. She served as a very good mentor to me.
Yes.
And so I feel that, you have to, it's important that you reach back. So I think that's a path forward. Yeah.
Yes, it is.
It's just like the Lord wanting us to build disciples for him,
Right.
That's right.
Yeah. And it's although you're not the first, but to a young lady that you talk to, in her mind, you are. And
right.
And nobody wants to be Jackie Robinson. You get your name in the history books, but what you have to put up with to get there,
right?
Nobody wants to go through that. So it makes it easier for them when they see someone like yourself who's doing these things, doing a good job of it, and still has a regular life as well.
Yes.
Yeah. I live my regular life.
Yeah.
I'm bi-coastal, DC, San Diego, the whole thing.
Oh, so he's at the Naval Academy in San Diego?
No, he's at the recruiting depot. He's a Marine.
Oh, a Marine. Oh, okay. So you say you travel. Now, aside from going to San Diego, where other places have you been?
So I have been to every continent but Antarctica.
Really?
Yeah. I am actually, to be honest with you, I've been to a lot of places in the US, but I would say Europe I've been to a good amount of Europe. And my goal was to go to Africa every year. My husband and I had planned to go to Kenya, Mozambique, and Madagascar. But COVID, so we can't go. But yeah, I really, let me see. One of my favorite places I've ever traveled to is India.
Okay.
My favorite city is Paris. First time I ever went to Paris, I was 14. So I've been traveling internationally for a very long time. And I love Paris. So I I always tell my husband, like, if I just paid $100 more, I could this flight to San Diego, I could go to Paris. Like, I just want you to know this. But I love Paris. India, just the food. Just so many people are just great. In Africa's, I said Africa rests here in my heart. So
Right.
yeah, I love to travel. I love it to experience different cultures. I'm sure in a past life I could have been like a food traveler, like Anthony Bourdain.
Oh no! Oh my goodness, he way out there.
Right. So you've been to Australia.
I have.
How was that?
It's great. So I've been to Sydney. It's not. So it's interesting. So the thing with Australia is it's very much. I think if you're an outdoors person.
Mm-hmm.
Like then I think Melbourne will probably be where you want to be. But if you are outdoors, you like to hike, like the mountains, it's fine. But countries or cities that remind me of the United States tend to not be my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very like US.
Oh, okay.
Yep, that's why I didn't.
They just talk funny.
Yeah, I wasn't crazy about Hawaii because I went there and I was like, it's like I felt like I was at home with freeways and.
Yeah, it's nothing to it. So it's like, Canada is more interesting. Like Montreal is more. I feel like Montreal has a lot of culture.
I just like
Montreal
the
is Montreal is so much like Europe. It's not funny.
Yeah, so I feel like you could get Vancouver. You get better experiences there, but so yeah, it's not mine.
Yeah. Well, you got a lot to compare it to, so
you're gonna make me watch that movie again. About the engineers that did the naval first, the moon.
The moon. Hidden Figures.
Hidden Figures.
Oh, Hidden Figures is so good.
It is so good.
But yeah, it is very.
When I saw all your stuff, I said, I'm gonna watch that movie again.
And that right, and that's the thing, and that's why it's important for people like yourself to every chance you get to speak to people, our people, about what's available in that field, because sometimes we see the movie Hidden Figures and most folks say it's just a movie, because no matter how much they say it's about real life, it's still just a movie until you actually experience it.
I agree. And another thing I want to make too, because you say you have like a lot of parents and kids that watch this. What I found in my experience is that a lot of times schools and families make kids fear math. And that's something that I've noticed a lot in Black kids. It's before they even get started, they already have a fear of math. Math is hard.
Uh-huh.
And math is hard, but it's just like any other subject. And so I think, we really want to get away from those generational traumas that was plagued in the Black community, that math is hard and we can't do math.
Right.
We can do math, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing, we just like you said, Hidden Figures.
Yeah.
We can do math. We could do math a long time ago. Kings and queens in Africa, right? Like we can do math.
Yeah.
There's nothing in our DNA that says we can't do math.
Right.
I'm probably guilty of that.
Yeah, it happens a lot. It does. It happens a lot.
Yeah.
The parents will say, I can't do math. Math is hard. And if you can't do math, that's what resources are for.
Mm-hmm.
That's what tutoring. There are a lot of.
That's what I did. I had a tutor, and then
free tutoring. Churches do free tutoring. Different recreation centers, Boys and Girls Club, YMCA.
Right.
Like don't, even if you have a fear of math, don't put that off on your child.
Right.
Like just say, we're gonna get you some help because. And move on. But the fear, I just learned that a lot of young students just come in with this. They're like, I can't do math. And I'm like, but you haven't even tried. So how do we know? We don't know yet.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's funny you say that, because when I was in school 100 years ago, I was an excellent math student. I just didn't want to do it. So when I went to high school, I was at a technical high school where we could pick our curriculum. I found the curriculum had the least amount of math in it.
And I wonder, did you feel like, because I feel like a lot of Black men Black boys will be good at math, but it's not cool.
Yeah, it wasn't about cool. Anything I did was cool. It's just I just didn't want to.
Why?
Good question, but that's a long time ago, so we'll never know the answer.
But our daughter, she graduated. Her major in college was finance and business. Yeah, she loved math. Like you said, when our son had physics and all, I was like, chemistry and all that stuff. I was like, oh my goodness. So, and now I direct people to him. I said, well, he was good in physics and good in chemistry and all.
Right.
The begging classes, they said to get a grade.
Right.
Yes.
So I direct them to him because he loves math.
Right. But what you said about a lot of times it's because it's not cool. A lot of times, we've also well, I guess that falls in the cool category. We've trained ourselves to not appear to be so smart.
Yeah.
That's right.
Brainiac and all that.
Right now, then you got a whole nother set of issues you got to deal with it. And it's crazy that even today that hasn't changed. That you still have a set of issues a child.
You do.
Yeah.
That students feel. And I think, it's slowly changing, but I have a niece that is 20 and a nephew that is 7. And just like from when she was little to he was little, like, he doesn't have a fear of math. Like he loves math, like math all day, every day. Like Auntie Aeriel, let's do math. But when she was little, there was this fear, like she had a fear of it. Like, and I'm like, there's nothing wrong with you. Like you're smart. If you fail, and the thing is, let's say you fail a test, okay, who cares? The next test. You just have to keep at it. So I think a lot of times we make a mistake in math and we say, oh, we're not good at math. That's not my strong point.
And
so I just want to bring that, make sure that point is taken because I just noticed that happens a lot in the Black community.
Right. Well, and sadly, especially with math in school, but sadly in our community, we tend to, if we fail at anything, we tend to run away from it.
We do.
Instead of learning a lesson from the failure and incorporating it into success, we say, okay, I'm going to do something else. I'm not
right. That's true. I remember being an undergrad. So many people would start off in engineering, Black and brown people, and the minute they failed, they didn't do well in the class, they would quit. And as a professor, I think about an incoming professor, I think about ways that I can mitigate that. Like, I do understand that a lot of Black and brown students come from undersourced high schools.
Right.
So how do I, as a professor, make sure that a student doesn't quit because of that? Like, what do I, how do I help them? Because that happens a lot. It's not about ability. It's just about resources.
Right.
You went to I taught students at Michigan that went to school that had 20 AP classes. Well, that's totally different to students who went to a school that didn't have a lab, a chemistry lab.
Exactly.
So how do we, I think now as professors and young professors, we have to figure out ways to encourage and keep students, retain them despite of those challenges, because they could be very talented students. And I think that's why I love the Africa work so much, is because you're looking at students that don't have the same resources, but those are, hands down, those are the smartest students I ever worked with.
Right, right.
I would tell anybody that. Yeah. Like I would give them, if all things were equal, they would outdo anybody 100 times.
Yeah, because they knew they didn't have, but they wasn't gonna let that stop them.
And they have that thought, and they see so many things. There's so many issues like infrastructure. Just the basics that we have in America that they don't have.
Right.
And they've invented so many things. Despite of, in order just to do homework,
right.
Those are the types of things that they've had to be very creative. So I think innovative, really innovative. Yes, right. And I think so a lot of times as professors, I will never have that mentality, oh, you fell, you're out, you're not going to make it. That's my goal as a professor, is to help you.
Yes. Yes. Because that's what you're there for.
Yeah.
But some people don't realize, but that's what you're there for. Educators are there to help.
Yeah.
Not put anything in the kids because it's already in them. But to help get it out of them.
That's right.
And put them in an environment where they're comfortable. I don't want to say learning, but comfortable growing.
Yeah, comfortable, where they feel okay. So many Black and brown students do not want to make mistakes. And when they make mistakes, it is a blow to their ego, unlike any other, because they know that they're going to be judged differently for being wrong compared to white students. It's just the reality.
That's the way it is.
And they're not sugarcoating that. That's how it is. Yes. And so for me, in my classroom, my goal is to create a safe environment. You can be wrong here because I'm wrong. There are times that I'm wrong. And I think that creating that environment where you could be wrong, but this is, you know, I remember my PhD advisor, he would challenge you like, you know, you could be wrong, but, you know, or you didn't in your mind, work through why this is wrong
Right.
and what's right.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So it doesn't mean like you're not smart because you're wrong. Because
Right.
even Einstein was wrong.
Right. That's right. That's right.
So,
Okay, so we gonna wrap this up. We've had a wonderful guy. Look, Joni was absolutely right. You
know.
you were a great guest.
Yes, you were fabulous.
Right, and you had a whole lot of good stuff to share with folks. Tim, you got any more questions you want to ask?
No, this our final question. You know how we usually ask them. What would you say to
I'm
someone
about to
that's
ask her.
okay.
Well, you go ahead and ask her. Yeah, the question is there anything else you want to share with our listeners?
I would say that I think one thing I really learned was to trust myself a lot. When you have 100 people coming telling you what you should or should not do, you gotta trust you at the end of the day and make that decision for yourself. And I think that's really to me what separates, you know,
right,
the girls from the women. You know, making that decision and sticking with that. And if it fails, pick yourself up and learn from it. But try to make your own decisions. Don't let, you know, regardless of what you do, don't let other people shape your experience. Like you shape your own experience. You don't want to live with any regret of what you should have done. You know, if I had a dime for how many people told me not to go to Michigan, how many people told me not to get married, how many people told me not to buy a house, like so many things that if I had, you know, I would not be where I was. And I feel like I always trusted my own instinct and my own gut. And so I think that it's very important that you trust yourself and learn to build that trust with yourself.
All right. Well,
all these new mothers with these Generation Z's, that's what they were saying. You be your own person. You don't have to follow.
That's right.
You be the leader.
Yeah.
We was giving a whole yes.
Well, I'm confident that your students are going to be get the best of what they can get.
I know.
Oh, thank you.
I am, from just talking to you. You got your mind in the right place and your heart's in the right place as well. And they are lucky. They'll be lucky to have you as their professor.
Yes.
Oh, thank you so much.
Aeriel, I really enjoyed you.
I enjoyed it too. Thank you guys so much for having me. And shout out to Joni for the connection.
Yes. Joni's working magic. And one day when we make some money off this, Joni, we got you.
And Joni is my big cousin, if you don't know.
Yeah, she told me you was her cousin. I said, wow, okay. Because she gave me a list of folks, and we interviewing one of the gentlemen next week. He's going to be on.
He's really good. He'll be great for Black men.
Right. And that's all we want to do. We want to share information with our Black young folks and old folks and whoever folks, because they need to know that it's a big world out there, and we are
definitely a part of it. That's right. We not up, we in it.
And there are people,
and we're doing great things.
Exactly.
Doing great
people
things.
People are doing great things, making decisions.
That's why they were so scared of us in the beginning.
In the beginning, now.
No, but I'm just
saying,
I'm way back when.
Yes.
You know, they were scared. You know what I'm saying? Because the Lord gave everybody everything they need. They tried to suppress it.
And they will try that.
Yes.
It's important that you know, I think I stand up for my, you know, back in the day, you just be quiet. Now I'm like, no. We have the same degree.
Yeah.
Yes.
We have the exact same degree.
That's right. So you got an opinion and a voice just like they do. All right. We thank you.
Thank you so much.
God bless you.
Thank you.
You take care and enjoy the rest of your day.
Enjoy your
day.
Bye.
All right, bye now.
Oh my goodness. That was awesome.
Right. All right.